shall we do our top 10s of 2008?
Let us, yes. I have a couple of honorable mentions. First, I'll just say Hunger is almost made my top 10. I have it at number 12. I have a couple of amazing comedies that I just love. They are Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Role Models. They're in my honorable mentions. Watched them both so many times. I love them to death. Kung Fu Panda came out the year is in my honorable mentions. There's a couple of movies that I think are a little bit lesser seen that I love. One called The Visitor with Richard Jenkins. One with Woody Harrelson called Trans-Siberian. That's really good. A couple of international movies that year that came out I loved. Let the Right One In, Gomorrah, The Counterfeiters, all very good. And then there's an Annie Hathaway movie called Rachel Getting Married that I really like. Jonathan Demme directed that. Very good.
That's a never did it for me that I've always wanted to see.
I think you'd really like it. So 2008 is a very strong year. I mean, those movies that I just listed off are all very good and could have been in a top 10 very easily. In fact, after talking about Hunger, I might have to readjust my list, but that's for another time. Let's go with the top 10 as it is right now. My top 10, number 10 is the Best Picture winner from that year, Slumdog Millionaire. There was a lot of backlash against that movie, but that always happens to the Best Picture winner. Slumdog Millionaire is great.
That's good.
Yeah, it's just a great movie. Number 9 is a film from France. It's called Tell No One. Just a great mystery. Guy gets an email from his wife one day, but the thing is, his wife was murdered several years earlier, so he has to figure out why he's getting this email. Just an awesome mystery. I saw it at the Traverse City Film Festival. I remember hearing that Ben Affleck was supposed to direct an American remake of it, but I don't think it ever came to pass for whatever reason. But if you get a chance ever to check out this movie called Tell No One, it's just awesome. Number 8, the aforementioned Milk. It's excellent. Sean Penn is great in it. Josh Brolin is great in it. James Franco, Emile Hirsch, just a strong cast, great story. My number 7 is Mike Leigh's film, and the first thing that I saw Sally Hawkins in, and the reason why I like her, and it's called Happy Go Lucky. It's also the first thing I really remember seeing Eddie Marsan in, but given that he's in like a million movies, it probably wasn't. But it's just the first thing that I really remember seeing him in, and he's just fantastic in it.
I think Eddie Marsan is about to pop up in this video. Talk about him so much.
Eddie, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on someday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. My number 6, the movie we talked about at great length, is Frost Nixon. I still really love it. Number 5 is another French film. It was the Palme d'Or winner. It's called The Class. I believe, I haven't seen it since it came out, but I believe what this movie said that was a lot of actual students that they put in the movie and just kind of talked about their actual experiences in class, and they kind of built the movie around that. Very cool. Really good choice for the Palme d'Or that year. My number 4 is Christopher Nolan's hugely popular The Dark Knight, and widely considered the reason why we have 10 Best Picture nominees now, because that movie made a bajillion dollars and was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, and yet somehow did not get a Best Picture or Director nomination out of that. My number 3 is a film I watched earlier this year and am just absolutely enamored with. It's called In Bruges. It's Martin McDonagh's.
Had you not seen it before this year?
Oh no, I'd seen it this year, but I said I rewatched it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad I misheard that.
Or maybe I said it wrong. I might have misspoke, but I rewatched it earlier this year. Yeah. I'm just absolutely enamored with it. I loved it the first time I saw it, and I love it just as much now. About morally questionable hitmen that you love anyway, hanging around Bruges, trying to figure out their next move. Colin Farrell is just extraordinary in this. Brendan Gleeson is wonderful in this. They're so good together. If you like Banshees of Inisherin, they're also just terrific together in this, but Ralph Fiennes just blows the doors off this movie. You can almost, I think I saw this in a Letterboxd review, where you can divide your life into 2 sections, and that is before you hear Ralph Fiennes call his wife an inanimate fucking object, and after. Inanimate fucking object! And it's just so good. It's just a phenomenal movie. And somehow there are 2 movies that year that were better than In Bruges, and they're just 2 all-time classics. Number 2 is Pixar's WALL-E, just a beautiful movie from start to finish, an absolute stone-cold classic. And then number 1, we've already mentioned it a couple times, Aronofsky's The Wrestler, just a perfect movie.
As often happens with these more recent years, although this is 16 years ago, which is depressing, a lot of your honorable mentions are in my list and vice versa, but there's a few differences. I'm going to just real quick run down my honorable mentions, because I think they're all worth talking about. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, I think my second favorite Guillermo del Toro movie after Nightmare Alley, and I don't know, Blade 2, also good. But really like Hellboy 2. It's one of the better comic book sequels, goes in a completely different direction than the first one. Just amazing creature effects like you wouldn't believe. The Hurt Locker, Catherine Bigelow's. Where's Catherine Bigelow?
Yeah, since Detroit. She hasn't done anything since Detroit, right?
I want her back.
I mean, that's an 09 for me, obviously, so that's why it's on my list.
I got two other 09s on this list that are 09s for you, but Iron Man, the first Iron Man, I think is worth mentioning just for what it wrought. This one I like less each time I watch it. This used to be, I think, in my top 10 and now no longer, but I still think it's quite good. And
just fell off my list when I put Hunger on. So yeah, I agree. It's
Slumdog Millionaire I have, me and Orson Welles, which we talked about at great length for our 2009 episode, but it came out in, I think, Festival Circuit in 08.
Yep.
Waltz with Bashir, animated pseudo-documentary movie about the Lebanese civil war and Israel's involvement in it. Incredible. Doubt, John Patrick Shanley, is that how you say his name? John Patrick Shanley, which is an adaptation of a stage play, and I just think unbelievable. Love Doubt. Number 13, I have Milk. Number 12, I have Gran Torino. Just not speaking of, but Juror number 2 is out now. It's supposed to be very good, if you can see it, which Warner is apparently making very difficult.
For reasons unknown.
I don't know. But I quite like Gran Torino. We're both Michigan people. You know, that's his Michigan movie.
Yeah.
And then another one you have for 2009 is Ponyo, is another one of my honorable mentions, which I just think is terrific. The Japanese Little Mermaid. Very good.
Very good.
All right, my top 10. My number 10 is Tropic Thunder, Ben Stiller's prelude to Severance. This was like when I realized he was a good director, although I do want to go back and watch Cable Guy, even though Zoolander 2 is trash. Anyway, Tropic Thunder is great. I still see people getting upset about the blackface as if that's not the point. That's bad.
That's not my complaint with it. I don't like the movie, but that's not my complaint with it.
What is your complaint?
I just don't think it's that funny.
That's a good complaint for a comedy.
But there are things about it I love. But yeah, I don't like Ben Stiller or Jack Black in it. I don't think either of them are that funny.
Got it. I disagree. It's my number 10.
A lot of people do. I'm very much in the minority on that one.
I wonder who's going to get mad at this. My number 9 is The Dark Knight. Why isn't it number 1? Because I like it number 9.
Yeah.
That's why. Dark Knight is the best crime movie to be made out of a comic book ever, probably. Yeah, it's just awesome. Heath Ledger's incredible. But so is the whole cast. I like Batman Begins more than The Dark Knight in that trilogy. I think it's the better overall movie. But this movie, there are some weird continuity errors in The Dark Knight, which doesn't necessarily matter, but I cannot get past them. The action scenes are unreal. Heath Ledger's unreal. It's very, very good. And now you said you're like, I'm forgetting Sarah Marshall and role models in my honorable mentions. The amount that we talk about these movies, I'm ashamed of you. I am frankly ashamed of you. So Role Models is my number 8. This is David Wayne's best movie, and David Wayne is a good filmmaker, and Role Models is incredible. And you are Ben Affleck, and that is not okay that you left it out.
I sing "Love Take Me Down to the Streets" multiple times a week.
That's by Wings, right?
Yeah, it's one of their hits from the 70s. Yeah.
My number 7 is a James Gray movie called Two Lovers, starring Gwyneth Paltrow and Joaquin Phoenix, which I am dying for you to watch. Would have been the Never Did It for this year had it not been Hunger. Joaquin Phoenix is just like a mixed up Jew in Brooklyn who falls in love with Shiksa goddess Gwyneth Paltrow, but she's not quite what he needs. And he has another lady in his life who's played by Vanessa Shaw, the beautiful Vanessa Shaw. And it's just wonderful. And his dad is played by Moni Moshanov, who I think is one of the more underrated character actors. He's a Georgian Israeli actor. He's incredible in this. He's great in Late Marriage, a Georgian Israeli movie that I really like. And I love that James Gray like found him and put him in stuff. It's awesome.
But Joaquin is grandfathered into we allow him to play Jews. We're good with that.
Yeah, because he's Jewish.
I know.
Jewish people are allowed to play Jews. Yeah. But Vanessa Shaw plays Jewish in this and is not. And Isabella Rossellini also plays Jewish in this and is not.
I was making the joke because so many people in James Gray movies who do play Jewish are not Jewish.
That's true. In fact, everyone in Armageddon Time is not Jewish. It's really not. But Joaquin stars in a lot of James Gray movies. Like Joaquin's in a ton of these like Brooklyn James Gray movies, and he's very good in them.
Yeah.
My number 6 is In Bruges. I don't know what else I could say about this that you didn't already say. The violence in this movie is limited but shocking. And yeah, Ray Fiennes' teeth. Also, we got to talk about the Twizzleton teeth. Very good. And I think maybe this or Payphone were the movies where I was like, oh, Colin Farrell's good actually. Okay, cool.
I saw a couple things before that. He's in like a movie called Intermission. There was a couple things that every couple of years something would come out. We'd be like, "Ooh, hello," and then he would do like Miami Vice or something. We'd be like, "Ugh," but he's on a good path now.
People love Miami Vice.
What? Oh man, are we gonna get hate for that too?
I don't know. I think it's stupid, but people love it.
Bad man, that movie's terrible.
My number 5 is Hunger. We've talked about it at great length. Listen to the whole podcast. If you're hearing this on a YouTube short, listen to the podcast. It's very good.
It's a good one.
My number 4 is Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I think is one of the greatest comedies of all time and is apparently not thought so by the Letterboxd community, who gave it a 3.3. What the heck? I think this movie's great. It's got Muppets. It's got Jason Segel at his peak. So good.
I mean, Bill Hader just being hilarious every time he opens his mouth. I mean,
I'm basically being Bill Hader in the movie right now. You only see him via FaceTime, and then also at the end he overacts in a Dracula musical.
He's always wearing his leather jacket.
He's so great. Mila Kunis is hotter than the sun in this movie, and Kristen Bell is so funny.
Oh my god, he is hilarious. And even Russell Brand, who's like insufferable now, unbelievably funny in this movie.
So I think we do have to ding the movie a little bit because it made Russell Brand more famous.
Yeah.
But then you have also Jonah Hill going from 6 to midnight and just being very, very funny.
Yeah. Hey, I brought you some coconut cake, stuff from the hotel, definitely not from me. Yeah. Or everything Paul Rudd does, like I just
my god,
I don't carry I just don't have I don't have a watch anymore. Like, oh man, that's so cool. Yeah, I just have the time on my phone.
Right.
It's like every little line in that movie is like funny in some way.
Right. I guess I'm 40.
Yeah. Get bit by a shark, are you gonna give up surfing? Probably, yeah.
They call me Kunu. Oh, cool. What does that mean? Chuck.
Yeah. Saw him beat up a guy with a starfish once. Come on, really? Guy was me.
It's a perfect movie. My number 3 is The Wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wish that this had signaled more for Mickey Rourke than just playing a legless villain in Iron Man 2. I don't know if I want to explain that joke this time. Go searching in through the podcast history and see if I know I explained it at some point. Hi, Mom. This is my favorite Aronofsky movie, and I quite like probably like 3/4 of Aronofsky's movies.
Mm-hmm.
Noah's pretty boring, but
it's terrible though. But yeah, it's not. It's like second. It's probably second worst of his movies.
It's definitely not terrible. What would we say the worst is? The Fountain.
Fountain. Yeah.
Fountain's bad.
Yeah, Fountain's bad.
Mother's weird but interesting, if not great.
Yeah.
And then I quite like all of them. I'm a whale defender. I'm the whale defender.
I like The Whale.
I like Pi, but don't think it's great. I was just talking about how Breathless gave us Pi, and it's kind of annoying. And Requiem is really tough. But
Requiem's tough, but it's very good. Black Swan is great.
Incredible.
Yeah.
He's an interesting filmmaker, which is more than you can say for a lot of people churning out content these days. And The Wrestler is his best movie. It's just so heartfelt. We talked about this on our No Holds Barred episode, but it's like the most real wrestling has ever seemed in a movie to me. Like, they're calling stuff in the ring. They're getting across like why someone would be a wrestler, not to win, but to like win over the crowd and because you're an egomaniac.
To fill the hole in your heart and your soul and everything. Yeah. I mean, it's gorgeous.
In like 2006 or 2007, maybe even earlier, I watched a shoot interview. So for those who don't know, shoot interviews, I don't even know if they really exist anymore now that kayfabe, which is the magic of keeping wrestling, making believe that wrestling is real, is so gone. But shoot interviews were something that hucksters would do interviews out of character with wrestlers, and you could buy them, and they were often interesting. And Raven, the wrestler Raven, did one, Scott Levy, where he talked about like what it would mean to be a professional wrestler, like what kind of person you have to be, and how like mentally damaged everyone who wants to be a professional wrestler probably is. And The Wrestler like fully taps into that. Shout out to Nigel McGuinness for his brief appearance in The Wrestler.
That's right, yeah.
And the cat Ernest Miller for his not brief appearance. I think Ernest Miller's quite good in that movie.
Yeah, he is, absolutely. Ring of Honor shows, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gives it definitely that helps with the realism factor for sure. I mean, there's Ring of Honor crowd there, and Ring of Honor crew and everything. I mean, it's super well done. And at any point in time, I stress, was Hulk Hogan ever considered to play the lead role in this movie?
Doesn't make a lick of sense. No, stop.
I hate him so much.
I was going to say it's actually not believable that Randy the Ram would be at a Ring of Honor show, but Jerry Lynn was champion. So what do I know?
Yeah, it's actually perfectly believable.
My number 2 is Kung Fu Panda. I think this is a perfect action movie. I love it so much. And I think this trilogy is great. It's unfortunate that there's 4 of them. And the first one is just my second favorite movie of 2008, and it's one of my favorite movies ever. But it is topped by a different animated movie, WALL-E, which I think is one of the best movies of all time. From the silent film we got at the beginning to the fact that it got me to watch Hello Dolly, which is another great movie. I think its message is really good. I see a lot of people be like, oh, when it gets on the spaceship and you've got the John Ratzenberger and Jeff Garlin of it all, that it's less good. I don't agree with that. I think it remains completely charming and prescient. We got to do something about the environment, y'all. We are screwed.
It's no better than it was in '08. In fact, it's way worse.
Oh, it's much, much worse.
Yeah.
It's much worse. I'm under a drought and wildfire advisory right now. I live in Jersey City. What is going on? WALL-E's a perfect movie. WALL-E, I believe, is the only Pixar movie that is part of the Criterion Collection. So that's an interesting note, too. Any other thoughts on the films of 2008?
No, I mean, like you said, just with the list of movies that we just listed out there, I mean, 2008 was a really, really strong year for a lot of, different types of movies and different, genres and mediums, just a lot of really, really cool stuff. I'd have to look, we didn't even mention any of the documentaries that came out that year, but there's a lot of good documentaries that came out that year too. Yeah, really, really strong year.